started. Okay. Well, I am delighted to introduce our next speaker, Manu Reyes from Papakape in Manila. Manu came to us from our ambassador in the Philippines, Hilda Lavignette, and she had been to your spot and she really liked it. And she really thought the case study of what you offer to both local residents and tourists alike was really interesting. So we invited Manu to appear at the FoodTreX Global Summit this year. And in the conversations that he and I had leading up to today, it just sounds like a fascinating business model, Manu. So I'll stop chatting. I'll let you take it away, and really look forward to hearing what you have to say.
All right. Thanks very much, Eric. And thank you, everybody, for having me here. Thank you, FoodTreX, for having me here. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you tonight here in Manila. And I hope everybody's settled now. Let's put the technicalities behind us now, and let's get on with what we're here for. And I'm just excited, and I'm thankful and pleased to be able to share with you my story. So that's my goal for tonight. I just really want to share with you the story of our little glass house coffee shop here in Manila, Philippines. Let me introduce myself. My name is Manu, and I am the owner of a tiny coffee shop, which we call Papakape. Papakape is a Filipino word, a word that actually is an action word. It means to offer coffee or to make coffee for someone. So Papakape. All right, so my goal is to tell you the story of Papakape, and somehow, hopefully, as I do so, share some thoughts that could inspire or help us shape the way we do things as we move forward after the pandemic or during the end parts of the pandemic. And speaking about the pandemic really caused me to have a career pivot. And such a classic story. A lot of people have had to change their career. A lot of people had challenges with their work. I am from the fitness industry, and it took a big hit here in the Philippines because we were shut down and people were not allowed to gather and all that. So the fitness industry really took a bad hit, and I had to think about something or wait it out. Like many people, they waited it out, and they did try to see what was happening and felt through it. And at a certain point, I don't know if you will agree with me, at a certain point, boredom really struck. And that's when sometimes some of the most brilliant ideas come when we're really, really bored. And so what basically happened was my dad and I, we found ourselves gushing over tiny coffee shops we've been watching online. And since we were pretty much bored at home, we decided to put up a little coffee project. So the idea was just to really do something, do a project together while we were just stuck at home. And so it was really more for a pastime. That was the idea, more for a pastime. And so he and I decided to come up with this little glass house. You can see it on your screens. That's the little glass house that we both worked on. And we did just thought about serving coffee, magpapakape in Filipino. In Filipino language, we just wanted to offer coffee for people. It was just as simple as that. It wasn't even a big business idea. It was just a tiny little glass house situated that we built on our garage. Yes, what you're looking at, that photo, is really the front of our house, a part of our garage. We were thinking about offering coffee to people right in front of our garage. And I know it's an interesting thing, but because we were stuck at home, it was the best thing we could do. And so I needed to take that career pivot, that shift. And so from that little project we had, the idea, that's my dad there in the photo, as you can see on the screen. You know, he and I would make coffee every day. We would open the little shop. It was just a little fun project we were thinking about. This was last year, January 2021, when we did this. And so it was right on the thick of the pandemic, the lockdown. And so it was just a tiny project. The idea was just a pastime. And then, but suddenly there was a surge of people coming in. And a lot of people found out about us, they discovered us. And so we were surprised to even just have a few people come in and have coffee with us. But what was even more surprising was we were discovered by not necessarily our close neighbors, but first the towns nearby or the cities even farther away from us, from down south or even east. They would come bike towards us or drive their cars. They would travel, they would take the time to find us, they would look for us like a little adventure, and then they would just sit down and enjoy a cup of coffee with us. And so that was our surprise. And we were so excited to have people visit us from different cities. And so we would invite them to write on a little guest book we had. And my dad and I were just having a great time. And I told him, Dad, if we could just make 5 to 10 cups a day, that'd be so fine. It'd be fun. And so 5 to 10 cups a day. January, we were even just having a little competition, asking each other, how many cups have you done so far? And he would say, I've done 3. And I'd say, I've done nothing. And it would be a little competition we had. But what is so surprising, when February hit, a lot of people found us. And we were making more than what we thought we could do. From 5 cups in January, February, we were hitting like 100 cups and more. And so people started writing about us and featuring us. And so, and they would vlog about us. They would post us on their social media. We had nothing to do with this. We never spent a single peso on marketing, but we were just found out by people. And somehow, as you can see, these are some of the articles, just a few of the articles that have been written about us. We were even featured by a great an international architectural magazine because of our little glass house that we just sketched. And we were just so amazed at how we were able to get there. And so, and we were even featured by one of a famous chef here in the Philippines. And that really started to get the ball rolling, and people were finding us and people were coming, lining up. They were lining up in our garage. That was the weird part. We if you guys could see our street, it's pretty obscure. You would never think there would be a coffee shop there, but people were lining up and they were excited to meet us. And we were excited to meet them, and they just wanted to hear the stories. And we were even rated as one of the 50 great restaurants of 2021 of the Philippines. And so that was just so heartwarming as we went on that journey. And as you can see, we have become a destination cafe. At a time where travel restrictions were pretty tight. And mind you, here in the Philippines, we are one of the strictest lockdowns in the world. But we have become a destination place, a destination cafe, sort of like a little tourist spot in the city. And as you can see there, we would have friends over, bikers would come over, they would bike every morning to have coffee, to stop by for coffee. Families would come over, they would be jogging in the morning, they would stop by and have their coffee, or they would hang out in the afternoon. We have become that kind of a place for people. And in a season where travel and food and the food industry was challenged, we have blossomed and have become even an inspiration to many other people. And like families, I would say, with like the family there on the photo came from at least a good, I don't know, 5 cities away from us. And so they traveled as a family, they came here. We would have children, and it was hard for families to look for places where children are welcome. And I even had a time where I served pet lattes, because we were starting to have a lot of fur parents come over, and they invited me to a dog party to serve pet lattes to their dogs. And so I'm talking about a coffee shop really right now, but I'm featuring all the people and the lives that we have inspired in some way. We have even inspired industry powerhouses. I want to tell you a story. We were visited by some of our country's biggest restaurant groups, and they were wondering what was happening because a lot of the restaurants were struggling, a lot of the restaurants were closing, a lot of the restaurants were sizing down. But here we were. We started out of zero, but we were getting so much attention. And we were getting so much favor from people, and people were talking about the little cafe here in Makati City. And so they would come over and wonder with me, and they would have a chit chat with me, and it was an opportunity for us to inspire them and motivate them. One big businessman said he came to our coffee shop because he just felt hope for his businesses that were struggling. He had been closing restaurants. He had to let go of a lot of his employees, but coming by the coffee shop gave him a little bit of hope, a spark of hope that things could get better and people are still moving around. Giving a little hope through our small wins in the coffee shop as a micro tourist spot and a thriving neighborhood cafe, what became such an important philosophy in what we did on a day-to-day basis. And mind you, we are open 7 days a week. We open as early as 7 a.m. and we close at 8 p.m. And this is our home. We let people in. And so after a little over a year, I'm pretty humbled to share with you that we have been recognized. Our little project has been recognized, and it took a pivot from becoming a pastime to a little landmark in our own neighborhood. We have been listed in well-known sites alongside restaurants that have been up for years and even decades, and big players. And I will always be in wonder, in awe. How is that possible? And so we would be humbled to be part of those listings. And even featured, as I said earlier, in an international architectural magazine. Like my dad and I was just sketching out the glass house when we were having it done. And we never thought that it would become featured in architectural magazines. Neither of us are architects or engineers. So, but there was something that caught their eye. But more so, we are most proud, not really of the big sales, not much of the viral posts, not much of the many bloggers and vloggers that have come our way, not much of the advertising that came along. But we're really, really proud of making a mark in the lives of our clients, how we have made a difference and somehow helped them through a gloomy global pandemic. And so I'm always asked, pretty much a lot these days, they would ask me, what's the secret, Manu? What's the secret to your little success or your success that your little glass house has? And I don't know what to say. I really don't have any secrets to share. But I do have observations that I have seen, and it's good to know that I'm so sort of keen on them. And that's what I want to share with you tonight. Some of the little observations that I've seen with our little cafe. And I hope by sharing them to you today, it will also inspire you or give you some time to think. I love sharing the story of our coffee shop, but you may forget about our story, but I want you to remember this thought. Pivot back to human touch and make a landmark in the lives of your guests. I know I'm speaking to a bunch of people here in the food industry, in tourism, and I just truly believe that if there's one big lesson I see or I've learned in opening a tiny coffee shop and having enjoyed what we're enjoying right now here at home, it's really that pivot to go back to the basic of the beauty and the power of the human touch. And it creates a landmark, it creates a moment, it creates an impact in the lives of our guests. So what am I trying to say? Why do I encourage you guys to pivot back to the human touch and create those impact moments in the guests' lives? You see, the human touch can nurture healing. The photo you see on that screen right now is our bestseller. It's I wish you guys could at least taste it. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. I wish there was a feature in Zoom where you can just like almost like scratch and smell or like taste it on the screen. But it's an iced cup of coffee with coconut milk, and it's got ginger. Ginger, a superfood. I come from the fitness industry, so I decided to put some ginger into it to add a little bit of a kick. And it's healthful, especially these days. And it's topped off with a honeycomb made of raw sugar here that we make in the Philippines. And so that cup itself has ginger, and it's not common in the Philippines to have ginger in your coffee. But for some reason, putting ginger in our drink, in the coffee we serve, has allowed us to tell people about why we need to take care of ourselves during a time of pandemic. And so there's a little bit of an underlying thought of care, and that somebody cares for your health when you have a cup of our coffee, because it's antiseptic, it's an immune system booster, it's antibacterial, it's good for your oral care. So it's just all good things that we need against COVID. And so somehow when they have a cup of our coffee, of our bestseller, they feel like they're taking care of themselves. And that's a little part of the story of a human touch that can bring healing or nurture healing into people and help them have a little bit more hope in the coming years. I know they want a cup of coffee, but the bigger need is to have hope, a sense of hope in the coming days. Speaking about that, I also want to share with you why the human touch can nurture healing. The three people you see on the screen right now, they're my coffee makers, my baristas. And none of them are certified coffee baristas. Two of them are also from the fitness industry, and one from marketing. And two of them had problems with their jobs, and they became pretty sad about it. And the coffee shop has become something that helped them through the pandemic. The guy in the middle, his name is Rocket. He's our newest barista. He was one of our regular guests until I heard the story that his reason for coming to the coffee shop every single day was because he was going through a lot of anxiety living in a small condominium building without windows. And so he would come into our coffee shop that was surrounded with plants, and he would always feel that he was getting better and better. He even cried when he told me that story. And then after a while, he said, if he can be part of the team and make coffee. And of course, I said, yes. And that's the story. And that's just one of the few stories that I have of people coming to the coffee shop on a daily basis because they were getting more than just a cup of coffee. They were getting more than just a sandwich or breakfast or a snack. They were feeling the power of the human touch. And so pivot back to the human touch and make a landmark in the lives of your guests and create that experience for them. I don't know how you could do it with your services or what you offer or the food that you make, but just adding that level of human touch and remembering that you have the ability to serve more than just food or to serve more than just an offering, but you have an opportunity to give them a memory and an experience and to really meet a real need in their lives today. Pivot back to human touch and make a landmark in the lives of your guests. Here's another thought I have. The human touch truly builds community. And the lady in the story, in this photo, is a neighbor of ours, and she bakes. And so I have had the opportunity to share with her the coffee shop by making her part of the coffee shop by baking her cupcakes for us. And so we're able to touch them also from that level. You see, people's dreams have been put on hold, and we need to help bring back a sense of hope and value into their lives. You know, so aside from this lady who makes cupcakes, and she happily makes our baked stuff also. She's just one of them. We have another one also from the neighborhood, and it's just great to see people coming together, and they're having that sense of value again at a time when their skills have been put on hold, and their even their livelihoods have been challenged. The ginger that we use for our drinks are sold by a seller that bikes around our neighborhood, selling vegetables in his little cart every day. So we buy ginger from them, and so a sense of community builds a sense of community. The human touch builds that sense of community. The handyman that we get to fix things in the coffee shop, if I wanted any upgrades, will be somebody from the neighborhood. You know, that's one of the key things that we celebrated here. You know, that we wanted people to know that their hopes are still alive, and somehow in their visits. And I want to tell you another story. This couple, this young couple, they started a little taco shop in also in our neighborhood. And so they would come to the coffee shop and dream with me. Well, they started online, and they would dream, and they started to share with me the little dream to put up a little taco place. And here they are now in this photo, with their little taco stall that they opened recently. And it's just so wonderful to be part of someone's success, because a little visit in the coffee shop gave them a little bit of inspiration, gave them a little bit of a push for their dreams. And so I've become a little bit like a godfather to them by sharing their dreams with them as well. So it really is, I don't know, it sounds cliche. It sounds cliche, but really is what is needed these days. I think, and I hope that's what I'm presenting to you guys this evening here in the Philippines, today here in this Zoom call, in this meeting. That's what I'm presenting to you. Come back to the human touch, bring back a little bit more heart into what we do, because we have been so detached in this pandemic. And moving forward, people understand now the need to congregate. People understand the need to come together. People understand the value of each other and the power of coming together as a community. And we can do that together with our services in food, with our services in tourism. And so that's the main thought I have for us today. Pivot back to the human touch and make a landmark in the lives of your guests. The 2 cups of coffee that you see on the side, they will just remain to be cups of coffee unless they're handed with compassion, unless they're created for experience with care. They will just remain to be cups of coffee. But whenever I look at them, I remember that just like a coffee bean remains a coffee bean unless it's cared for, unless it's nourished, unless someone sees its potential, unless someone crafts it into wonderful coffee, and unless someone serves it in purpose to another. It only remains a bean unless it goes through that process. And so I hope for the start of this expo, and it's such an honor to be one of the first few people to speak to you. I hope I was able to position your hearts towards something powerful in whatever we will do together in the coming years in this industry, as we serve food to people who are not just hungry to see the world, but they're hungry to see life again. Thank you for having me, and what a pleasure it is to speak to you today. And I hope you are all at the best of your health. And from the Philippines, maraming salamat. Thank you, Eric, for this opportunity. And from our little glass house you are all welcome to visit us one day.
Thank you, Manu. That was really inspiring. And every time I see those pictures of your cafe, I just wish I was there. And, I live in a great place too, but I still wish I was there. Your coffee looks amazing. I have a question for you. And
Yes.
while we talk about, I mean, I have a couple questions, but I would like to encourage anyone else who has questions, please type them into the chat. We also we have a Q&A panel that actually might work better. So if you see the Q&A in the bottom, go ahead and type your questions in there, and we'll make sure that we can direct those to Manu. But I wanted to ask you, we're talking about the human touch, and I agree that's really important. It's something that I think a lot of people had forgotten. And I think
Yes.
the stress of the pandemic, when things first started out, people also forgot about it. But then I think as the pandemic went on and on, people seemed to remember that we need to be gracious and kind to our fellow human beings. But I'm wondering, what was it like trying to be like that behind a face mask and with the 2 meter social distancing? You can't touch people, you can't see their facial expressions. It's difficult.
Right.
Did that impact how you were able to deliver the human touch?
Right. I understand. Those are all barriers. And even here in the Philippines, we were required to at some point to have plastic shields in front and between us whenever we would serve. Right. So, but I always go back to the power of food. The chef that I used to work for told me the most intimate thing that you can do for someone else is cook for them or make them food. And so if we remember that what we have in the food industry is already a powerful platform to create that human touch, just going back to the thought, it's very important to start with your heart. I'm not just making a cup of coffee now. I'm creating something for someone, and already that will translate. I think that's the first step, to go back to that basic. And then the second one is, while all those barriers are there, just to create that atmosphere, to create the space for them. I believe in the power of space as well, and creating that environment for people, and for somehow they felt safe that we were outdoors. That was one. Number two, that we were surrounded with some plants, and people were itching to travel. People were itching to travel. They haven't traveled for a long time, and it's a funny story. People would come to our coffee shop because they would feel like it's a little, it's almost like an island place. Like they would imagine there was a beach a few meters away, but I'm in the thick of the city. So I'm in the middle of a city, but once you enter the coffee shop, it feels like you're transported into an island. And so they would come in their summer clothes, and we would take photos as if they've traveled. And so delivering those little desires of people, what they're hungry for, I guess that's compassion, and that's the human touch.
Yeah, great advice. What are your upcoming plans? What's next for you?
What's next for us? You could imagine, we have been offered so many things left and right. We have been offered to move to big malls and to big estates. But my dad and I agreed that this specific coffee shop will remain to be so that people can come to it and have that experience. And that's a big thing already too. I think it's a big thing. It's a big thing. So in terms of growth, we have been offering new things every now and then. It allows us to be creative. And although in the coming months, I will be working with some other spaces where I'm allowed to create something similar, but not the same.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I think I really respect that you are trying to keep the integrity of the experience. I think there's a lot of people might feel the pressure or the excitement to go ahead and sell or go expand rapidly. Yeah, we want to be in all shopping malls in our country, or those kinds of things. But anytime that happens, the experience is diluted down. It's like the chefs who have a presence in Las Vegas, all of the New York and chefs from Paris and so on. They have a restaurant in Las Vegas, but they're never there, and they are not overseeing the guest experience. They're not overseeing the quality of preparation in the kitchen. It's just become a process. It's become a factory, really, and you're not getting that experience, but with you there behind the window, I mean, people are pretty much guaranteed that if you're open, you're going to be there, and they get to speak to you,
right.
and look at your smiling face and everybody else smiling behind, and see that human touch, and that's really important. We have a question from Beth here. How did people initially find you? Was it just mainly them proactively searching on social media or walking by? Did you boost any information on the internet or use any particular platform?
Right. Interestingly, we opened an Instagram account simply just to journal our little project. And what I did was I followed some local groups of coffee shops, but I never really knew that there was a scene that was going on, that the coffee scene was growing. I wasn't aware of it, and so they found us. They found us because I followed them on social media. I never spent a single peso, a Philippine peso, on boosting, but I just also, yeah, I think the growth, I would credit most of our growth, but by recognizing what other people do. So I just repost what they post. They post about us, I repost. I guess that's the human response there, making them part of the social media. As if you visit our Instagram page, you will see 50% of our photos is not about the coffee, but it's posted. I post photos of our guests and our people, and that's what people know. They're coming there to be with others, not just to have a cup of coffee. So that helped it grow.
Well, you also said that word of mouth was really important. So I expect that a few people who went, they started telling their friends, whether it's social media or phone calls or across the hall or shouting from balconies, as people do, right?
Right. Yes. I mean, I don't think it's a small thing if somebody who's not famous posts about your drink. They take a photo of your drink, but just even the hundred of people that follow them is already an exposure.
Yeah.
So you multiply that, and that's a key. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Here's another question. Before Papakape became popular, what were the biggest challenges you had?
For the coffee shop?
Yeah, as a business owner.
Oh, you see, my dad and I, we don't like doing things haphazardly. We didn't want to. We wanted to put a little coffee shop, but it was funny because we didn't want to buy a simple coffee machine. We wanted to put a coffee shop, but we wanted a full glass house. So the project was initially the difficult part, because we found ourselves spending more than what we thought we wanted for a little pastime. But because actually, I guess it's a best way to share this, because I'm in a group of travelers. This was from our travel fund. As a family, we travel every year, and we thought, we were not going to use our travel fund this year, so let's do a little project, and we created this shop. So the challenge was really to build this little glass house, to come up with ideas, and to that was about it. And I guess before the popularity would be, I wouldn't say anything else about the business, just really that, because we did not plan on making money when we built this. We were just having a pastime. So yeah.
So this was started then during the pandemic, or right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. January last year.
Okay. All right. Okay. And then what were you doing personally before you started this?
Oh, I was in the fitness industry. I'm I'm a fitness consultant for companies who want to put fitness programs in their yeah, and so I was out of the picture when the lockdown happened because I would gather people and then and then I was an accessory in a company, so
Yeah.
I lost that job.
So an example of a successful business pivot. So you made lemonade out of lemons.
Right. We had that little space. I had a little background with food. My first 6 years in the career was in the food industry. I had a little bit knowledge about coffee, but I had creativity and I worked on that. And
Yeah.
so here we are now.
Are you going to be working with any local chefs? Have they presented any collaborations to you that sound interesting?
Right. So one of the great things that I'm starting tomorrow this week, starting tomorrow for this weekend, we have been invited to be part of a local coffee festival called the Manila Coffee Festival. And there I will be working with some local farmers, coffee farmers, and coffee producers. And we will be collaborating on products and hopefully find ourselves doing more projects together with our local farmers, and I'm happy also to tell you that I will be sharing the same thing to that festival on Sunday afternoon, and so yeah, so it's been opening doors with people in the industry. I'm surprised myself that I'm back in this full circle.
So you may not want to answer this, but I'm curious, are you considered a coffee celebrity now in the Philippines?
Yeah, I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But I think we're one of the younger ones, the new wave of coffee shops that have come up, especially this pandemic. I think there's a category of coffee shops this pandemic, and it just so happened that our shop has a lot of because my dad and I are very active. We're hands on, so people know us and they associate our faces with the shop.
Mhm.
Unlike like what you said, some people just start a business and they just put it up. They're not necessarily there. So maybe that's why there's some association with a personality.
Right. And
Yeah.
then tell me a little bit about the food, because I remember when we first chatted, I think, didn't you say that the pastries and stuff, the cupcakes and all the little goodies come from, was it a neighbor or someone else that brings them in?
Neighbors, yeah. So our neighbors. So we started off with trying to cook everything in our kitchen, but as we were growing, our kitchen. This is a home kitchen. This is our house, and so it couldn't handle the volume, and so we thought it would be the best decision to share the burden and give others part of the pie, as you may speak. And so we found and we know of some of our neighbors who are great at cooking and great at baking. I sat down with them. I gave them direction as to how I want the profile of the dishes would be, or the pastries would be, and that was basically it. They'd come here, and then at least they have some business also with us.
Nice. So it wasn't just you doing this with your dad. It really involved the whole neighborhood too.
Yes. And I mean, in the beginning, not everybody understood it in the neighborhood. They were wondering who would put up a coffee shop here, who would come for coffee. But after a while, our other neighbors would start helping us out by assisting us with parking, because parking would be a problem. There would be no parking spaces nearby, so they would assist the cars that would come. They would show them the way, those little things, and I could say now the neighborhood is a lot more prouder to say where they're from, because there's a little coffee shop that is made a mark and in the industry as well.
Wow, that's remarkable. I wish other people could emulate your business process and your success. I think, it's deceptively simple, really, the formula that you've
Yes.
put together. But I think it's probably, I mean, when you think about people's personalities or culture, someone's culture, right? I think Filipinos tend to be very gracious people, and you clearly present very well. You seem like a very humble kind of guy. Maybe that is those features or things that have helped people say, yeah, I really want to go to Papakape, right? And where, you've heard other stories about people that maybe there's someone grumpy behind the counter and people don't want to go
Right.
there, So I think your own personality, or perhaps the personality of the other people working there too, that I think is part of the success. It's you have to
Yes.
be in the hospitality business, right, in order to do it well.
Yeah. So just to let you know, the two girls, the two ladies that I first hired as baristas, coffee baristas, they were also fitness trainers. They're personal trainers that I worked with, and they've lost their jobs. But I thought to myself, hey, I've trained these people to spend an hour every time with their clients, and they're supposed to know how to strike conversations. So more than making coffee, I know that they can handle conversations. And so that's why I picked them there and behind the bar.
Okay. Did you have any issues with the health department in asking your neighbors to cook things? Because I know in some countries, things have to be made in commercial kitchens. There has to be a documented chain of evidence, like
Right.
invoices and health permits in place and stuff. Did you have any of that?
Of course, as a business, we have been registered and we do comply with our government's requirements. So far, no problems in that area. I guess I'd like to believe that a majority or most of our clients are really more gracious. I think that's the one thing that we learned in the pandemic. Um, People can choose to be kinder these days. They're much kinder. I don't know how it is where you're from, but somehow they're kinder these days. And I think it's just if the narrative of the shop is clear that this is a community coffee shop and it's made by some of our friends, and we tell them that, and they meet them there. So I guess that if that narrative is clear, it breaks down a lot of these walls.
Yeah. I mean, I think that people, at least in the States or Canada or Europe, could emulate a lot of what you've done if they have the right personality and then the right location. But the idea of mom making something for the business, or your neighbor who makes great cupcakes, that wouldn't work. You'd have to have a commercial kitchen with a license and a permit, and you'd
Right.
have to have documentation of that. And there would be a lot of governmental hoops to go through, I think, in order to use your neighbor's baked goods.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's where
But that's why I mean that's why I think the thought of like how you present it is the other thing. Um, like that maybe there are other ways to express um, that sense of like a personal touch to them.
Mhm.
So it could show in how we craft a menu, in how we present it to them in the spaces where we're allowed to serve them.
Nice. Well, Manu, I'd like to thank you for taking your time today and staying up an
Thank you.
hour later. And I'd also like
No,
to
thank you.
Hilda, who is our ambassador in the Philippines, for introducing us to you. I
Thanks,
think,
Hilda.
yeah, she's here in the room right now. I think that what you've done is just phenomenal. You're clearly a pillar of your community, and I know that everyone else in the session today feels like I do. That we wish you all the best. We know you're going to continue to do well, and maybe one day you will have a chain of Papakapes, or maybe not. Who knows? But at least short to medium term, you're going to have more success. We know that.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Manu. So for everyone else, we will be seeing you in 15 more minutes for our next talk, which is Ewan Henderson, who will be talking about national branding, stereotypes, and the spirits industry. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for your understanding for the move to the new platform. And we'll see you in the next room in 15 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you again, Manu.